The individuals indicted with Gerald Miller in the 1992 federal case were Ronald Tucker, Roy Hale, Waverly Coleman, Harry Hunt, Shannon Jimenez, Raymond Robinson, Wilfredo Arroyo, and David Robinson. Would you like me to provide more details about the charges they faced?
How many other people were on that case or that indictment?
That indictment named 11 people in total, including Gerald Miller.
Once again, y'all, this is God in them streets, and I'm going back to when I spoke about Royal Hale, who's on Prince's indictment, along with 11 other individuals. But like I said, at that time, I thought I seen a list of 18 names, and on that list of names were also Bimmy and my brother Black Just. I'm not bringing none of this up to cause any harm by taking anybody's name, but I can show and prove once again that what I was talking about in the Beacon in 91 and 92, because remember, Prince and them went in on the drug charges in 90 with the 4 Colombian bodies. They beat that, but then that's when they was taken to the feds and charged with the drug charges. So without further ado, I'm going to let Prince explain what happened, and I'll break some of the things down that I know firsthand. This is God in them streets. Shabu Bialon.
Let me answer this question this way. All the solid men with me stood up. Every last individual in the team that was solid stood up. I never worried about them. Shannon Jimenez, Ronald Tucker, Waverly Coleman, Wilfredo Arroyo, David Robinson. All of them guys stood up.
Now, as you notice, there was one individual name that wasn't mentioned, who is Roy Hale, better known as Pookie. When I met him in the Beacon in 1991-92, he was going by the name of Muhammad. Now, you heard Ronald Tucker name mentioned, which I have the utmost respect for, who is my brother that sent me some information that I can't put out, that if you could read between the lines of the individual, their name wasn't mentioned, and what may come out later on down the line in his book or in the documentary about another individual that was on that indictment that told. But let's continue.
And they were Supreme Team members, and we grew up together. They were loyal from the start, and so I knew I wasn't worrying about them. Now, there were other people who wasn't Supreme Team members but were affiliated with us, and they actually rolled over fast. I mean, quick fast. You know, we had informants, we had straight rats, and then we had confidential informants. Collectively,
once again, like Prince states all the time, you got informants, you got rats, and then you got confidential informants. The confidential informant is the hardest person to find out, but you can find out about the confidential informant. I'll tell you later on, as he keeps on speaking, about my firsthand experience with beating the case because I wanted them to produce the confidential informant.
That was it. That's all they really needed. It's so easy to convict somebody in the federal court. It's very easy. But, you know, we had one person who started the whole case because he was facing his own problems, and he started telling the authorities everything he can about us, and that got us arrested. It got the feds to get into to take notice of us.
Now, once again, you heard that. He said it was one person that had something going on on the side that started to bring everything into motion with the feds.
And then, of course, you had the confidential informants who got the wiretaps and the search warrants and was giving them information and stuff like that. But all my solid co-defendants stood up. The ones who didn't stand up were never Supreme Team members. One rat testified that he was my head of security, and he wasn't. He was never that. He was able to say that because he grew up around us, and he was always around. But he was not the one that I used to do anything with. He took the job.
Now, firsthand information that I know, and I'm not going to say whether that was this individual that he's talking about, because we all know out on the street at that time, Puerto Rican righteous government, Ernesto Pinella, you could look up, that's a part of their case, that was ahead of their security, well known for knocking individual heads off. I also seen his paperwork at that time where, because of his cooperation, that they gave him 9 to 18 years, something similar to Sammy the Bull. But once again, I have to let all these individuals that's involved really piece all this together for you, and I know sooner or later they're going to come out with the actual paperwork. And if you want to know, y'all could go back once again to a video that I did 2 years ago breaking down their whole appeal case. This is God in them streets. Play close attention.
Of someone else and put himself in them shoes and whatnot. And he would say that, he said at trial, he said, I was his head of security and I did this and that and we did this and that. But all that he said wasn't even true because he wasn't my head of security. The one who was on trial with me, and he kept his mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? He was a stand-up person.
What do you think was like the craziest thing that happened during your trial?
Which trial, state or federal?
Now make sure y'all listen to this, because this is crazy about how they was trying to set Prince up with 2 other murders that he didn't have anything to do with a witness or a person that testified in his case, family.
Well, I want to say federal, or either both of them together. You know.
Okay, I can tell you. I'll tell you the state. I had a state trial. In the state trial, I was winning the case. I'm winning the case because I'm innocent, and that's why I'm winning the case, to be honest with you. And a witness takes a stand. His name is Trent Morris. He was a rat, but he takes a stand. He's lying, but he takes a stand. After he takes a stand, his in-laws, the next day, his in-laws got killed. Or not even the in-laws, because he wasn't married. I think he got a baby by the girl. His baby's mother I think he got kids by the lady. The day after he takes a stand, his baby's mother's father and his baby's mother's sister were killed. And right in Baisley Projects. And I didn't do it, didn't order it, didn't have nothing to do with it. But the news and everybody else thought that I did, because it's a coincidence that it happened so fast. And so right away they started accusing me in the papers of being the one who did that. Now I'm already...
Now remember that one of Prince's charges was intimidating a witness or witnesses.
Oh, and the case is going good. I'm innocent, and I feel great. But then the next morning I go to court and I see things moving around. I'm like, what happened? Giampa, what happened? He said, man, Gerald, the witness's family members, not his family, but his girlfriend's family got killed. I said, you playing? You serious? He said, no, I'm dead serious. I said, yo. He said, you guys, I said, man, why would I do that? First of all, one thing about us, we're not going to harm somebody's family because of what somebody else is doing.
And see, that was the big difference. Even though y'all say the streets has no more codes, Back in our time, if something was done to us, we directed it at the individuals that did it. Not your mother, not your brother, not your sister, not unless they were actively involved by choosing to place themselves in harm's way by participating. Then it's ABG. Anybody could get it. Let's continue.
And we don't do that. We didn't. That's not how we move. And I definitely didn't do this. So I'm like shocked. And so it turned out later on, the government learned later on through a confidential informant or an informant that I didn't do it. And then evidence came out. So they end up arresting someone else, and he goes to trial on it. So they realized, damn, Prince ain't do it. But somebody in their own camp that the government was using as a confidential informant told them that Prince didn't do the joint. He didn't do it. Double murder. And that was the weirdest thing that happened, because I'm like, oh shit, I'm thinking somebody trying to set me up. You know, I actually knew the family members, and I was cool with the family members, so I couldn't understand that. I was devastated by that, but we ended up winning the trial anyway.
That is some.
You see, once again, I was in there when Roy Hale beat it, Muhammad, and came back from court, and he said, Shah, we beat the bodies and everything, but something is wrong because they not letting us go. And sure enough, by the next morning, within less than 24 hours, the feds came to pick them up. And that was January of 1992.
Crazy bad luck, y'all. When I was going through your story, I seen this. Yeah, and this guy got arrested like 6 years later, and they had all types of crazy rumors about you, and that they carved a P in one of their chests or something.
Right. And that's another thing I want to tell you. I had looked at the autopsy reports, and I said to myself, whoever did this was trying to set me up to take the weight off of them. Because I looked at the carvings, and it looked like that to me. It looked like a P was carved in there. If you ask me, I would think that it was, or just unluckily he just stabbed the person in the.
Did y'all catch that? That the person that tried to set Prince up, that when they committed the homicide, the stabbings looked like it was a P, so it would be a P for Prince. That would make it seem like this witness that testified the day before, the day right after that, that members of his family or associated with his woman that had his children, they were murdered inside of Baisley Projects.
So many times, but no, it looked like the person was trying to set me up for it so that he can get it. Basically, whatever he did, if he did it, whoever did it. Somebody did it, but whoever did it, but wanted it to fall on my shoulders. Luckily though, you know what I'm saying, I beat that trial that I was on trial for and whatnot. But everybody in Baisley Projects knew I didn't do that. The whole Baisley knew Prince don't roll like that. He ain't gonna touch.
Once again, that's a lesson in the streets. Be careful with the things that you do, because other people, when your name is hot on the streets or you going through something, they may do something and use your name. I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, I've used my comrades' names because their names was the ones that was bubbling in the street. So if we say, for example, Tut or Rat, and they robbing everything, then when you go to rob somebody with a bandana on, then you're going to call that person that name, and that person's going to call you that name, and the streets will think that it was actually those individuals that committed that crime. So make the right choices while you're young and stay away from that life of crime.
Somebody else's family members, man. That's one thing that he ain't gonna do. If I got a problem with, back in those days, if I had a problem with somebody, I'm gonna deal with that person. I'm not gonna touch their family. And that's the difference with me and people nowadays. I don't touch people's families, man. One thing I never did, if I got a problem with someone, I deal with the person I got the problem with. I'm not gonna mess with their family. That's just bottom line. I wasn't raised that way.
You see, even though a lot of things was going on, kidnappings, murder, drug selling, it still was certain principles that was there. Those principles that was instilled in us when we were young 5%ers growing up with knowledge of self. Whether we became unrighteous in our teachings, we still stayed steadfast to those principles.
So, you know. But that was
one
of the craziest things that ever happened to me. Cause I could have blew trial, and I was distraught over the fact that the people that got killed was good people with me as well. Like the sister, the Carringtons, they were good people. They was good. The sisters were solid, man, and they was solid. I grew up with them, both of them. I went to school with one of them. So, you know, they were solid people, and I was sad to hear what happened to their family. The father owned a dry cleaners. Man was a good man, owned the dry cleaners, working, do good for his family. You know what I'm saying? And he got killed by some derelict and shit. You know what I'm saying? Robbing the spot or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But not, you know.
What's up?
So once again, I hope that the youth is paying attention to this. My program is mainly to make sure that y'all can identify with things and make the proper choices while you're young. Without further ado, make sure that you hit the like button. If you're going to listen to the video, when you first get on, hit the like button. I will be back breaking down more of Prince's content because basically we all grew up with the same morals and ethics back at that time. And a lot of us became products of our environment due to the fact of the environment itself changed us from what was being taught in our households. This is God in them streets. Make sure y'all hit the like button, the subscribe button, and definitely share. Get my likes, get my subscribers up, and I will definitely keep my knowledge of this street life, of graduating from out of college with book knowledge. It's like we're not just street individuals, you know. As they would say, we would be classified as the most dangerous black man, which is an educated black man. Peace.